let's go ahead and get started with the second chapter in Unit 6. And we're reading a floor plan today. Our objectives: I will compute the perimeter and area of a polygon, and I will compute volumes of regular solids. So let's go ahead and look at the first example. First of all, here's our key terms. Hopefully you've reviewed them in the unit in your reading before watching this video. So example 1, it says Jerry is using the floor plans of his new home to help him purchase base molding for the place where the walls meet the floor. The plans are drawn using a scale of 1/4 of an inch represents 1 foot. So we've been given a ratio. Now, when you're given a ratio, it's better to place these in a decimal form rather than in a fraction form, because you're already creating a fraction with the proportion or ratio itself. So remember, this is all about division. So 4 divided into 1 gives me 0.25. Now the other thing you need to make sure you do is when you create that ratio, it has to be consistent. So for today, we're going to do everything inches over feet. Now some of you are asking the question right now, can I do feet over inches? The answer is yes, you can do that, but you have to be consistent throughout. But today we're going to do inches over feet. So far we know that 1/4 of an inch represents 1 foot. So that's 1/4 of an inch on the blueprints equals 1 foot in the actual room. It says he measures the walls on the floor plan with a ruler and he finds that they total 23.5 inches. Well, again, I know I'm doing inches over feet, so when it gives me inches, it tells me that it's going to go right here on the top. Again, instead of 23.5, a half is represented by 0.5. And then it says, if the molding costs $210, how much will it cost for the molding? So the first thing we have to do is find out exactly how many feet Jerry needs. So we've created a proportion, and whenever we have a proportion, it's one set of numbers equals another. We can do our cross multiplying. So I end up with 0.25x equals 23.5. And when I divide both sides by 0.25, I get that x equals 94 feet. Now, we needed to find how many feet we needed, but that wasn't the question here. The question was, how much is it going to cost if it was $2.10 per foot? Well, now we know how many feet it is, so we're simply going to take the 94 feet and we're going to multiply it by $2.10. And with that, we will find that it is going to cost him $197.40 for that molding. All right, go ahead and press pause, solve this, come back when you're ready, and we'll do it together. I would warn you, be careful, make sure you set up your proportion consistently. All right, the length of a room is 17 feet. When using 1/4 of an inch equals 1 foot, so we know that that is just the same as it was in the first example that we did. What is the length of the room on the floor plan? Well, again, it gave me feet. We have inches over feet, so I know that the 17 in this case is going to go on the bottom. I then do my cross multiplying, and I get that x equals 4.25 or 4 1/4 inches. All right, example number 2. Gabriella plans to carpet her living room except for the quarter circle right here where she's going to put her piano. The radius of that quarter circle is 8, so we know that that's going there. If the carpeting costs $9.55 per square foot, what is the cost of the carpeting that she will use in her living room? Well, the first thing, we need to recognize that we have a rectangle. And in order to find the area of a rectangle, the area equals the length times the width. And it gives us that as 25 by 16. So if we take 25 and multiply it by the 16, we end up with a total of 400 square feet. So if the whole thing was going to be carpeted, Job done. We're really easy. We just multiply by the 955. But the problem is we've got to take out this quarter circle here. So the first thing we're going to do, we do know how to find the area of a circle. So that was of a rectangle. Area of a circle equals pi r squared. And it's given us that the radius equals 8. So we're going to go ahead and calculate that. We've got pi times 8 squared, which equals 64 pi. Now what I'm going to do here is we're only talking 1/4 of a circle, and it says that right there. So we're actually going to divide by 4, which really what we did was we took the 64 over pi and we multiplied it by 1 over 4, which gave us the 64 over pi. I know that 4 goes into 64. It looks like 16 times. So I'm ending up with 400 minus 16 pi. Pi is represented by 3.14, so it's 16 times 3.14, which gives me 400 minus 50.24. When I subtract that, I get a total of 349.76 square feet. Now, when purchasing carpet, they're only going to do it in terms of entire square feet. They're not going to sell to 349.76 square feet. So what we need is we're going to take 350 square feet and we're going to multiply it by the $9.55. And we find the amount that she's going to be spending for this carpet is $3,342.50. Please press pause, go ahead and solve this, come back when you're ready. All right, it says express the area of the shaded region. So we're looking for all of this shaded area. So good thing is we've got a rectangle within a rectangle. It makes our life a little easier, not having to deal with a circle or pi. But we've still got variables in there, so we don't know all of our values. We do know that the area of that rectangle is the length times the width. So in this case, the big rectangle is 2x times x plus 3. If we then distribute it, we know that the area of the big circle is 2x squared plus 6x. Now, the area of the smaller rectangle is 5 times x. So we end up with 2x squared plus 6x minus the 5x. My like terms are identified here as a positive 6x and a negative 5x. So we end up with 2x squared plus x, and that's our final answer. All right, number 3, Delgado's landscaping design is building a large gazebo for the backyard. It is in the shape of a regular octagon. Octagons are 8 sides, as shown in the diagram. Each side of the gazebo is 10 feet. They need to purchase wood for the floor, and it costs $14 per square foot for a special type of wood. Find the cost. So the first thing we're going to enter here is we don't necessarily know a radius which comes to the actual edge. Here's some things we do know. A regular polygon of any type, what that means is that all the sides are the same. So if the one side is 10, all the rest of these are 10 as well. And in order to find the area of an irregular shape like this, we're going to use what's known as our apothem. The difference between an apothem and a radius. The apothem, as I said, goes from the radius to a vertex, which is one of the corners that the octagon creates. Whereas an apothem comes from the radius straight down to the middle of one of the lines within the octagon. And the formula that we need here is area of this is going to be 1/2 the apothem, which is little a, times the perimeter. So A equals my apothem, P equals perimeter. Now, in order to find the perimeter of an octagon or any polygon, we simply are adding all of the sides together. So when we add, we've got 8 tens, or we can multiply 8 times 10. The perimeter is 80. The apothem we've been given is 12. So my formula is area equals 1/2 of 12 times 80. Well, 1/2 of 12 is 6. So 6 times 80. And the area equals 480 square feet. Now I'm going to take that 480 square feet and I'm going to multiply it by the cost, which was $14 per square foot. And the cost for this particular gazebo floor is going to be $6,720. All right, please press pause. Go ahead and solve this. When you're ready, come back. Okay, let's take a look here. It says a regular pentagon, so a pentagon is 5 sides. This won't necessarily look even, but it's the best 5-sided figure that I can do. And it says that it has an area of 440. Remembering that my formula is area is 1/2 the apothem times the perimeter. What else does it give us here? It tells us that each side measures x, and it says express the apothem algebraically. So in this case, we do have the area. The area is 440 equals 1/2 of the apothem times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5x. Next thing, we're going to go ahead and multiply what we can through, and we end up with 440 equals 5/2ax. We're going to go ahead and multiply both sides by the reciprocal so that we can get rid of those numbers. So here they're going to go away. I've got ax, and over here 2 times 440 is 880 divided by 5, and I've got 176. It asks us to solve in terms of the apothem, so we're getting that a by itself. We're dividing both sides by x, and I get a, or the apothem, equals 176 divided by x. And we're going to go ahead and stop this video here, and I'll pick up the last couple of examples on the next video. Good job, everyone.